Spence versus Ugas, the post fight. Woo! Big fish. Daddy still is. He is still the big fish. He proved that point tonight. He took out all the frustration. It looked like to me anyway. He took out all the frustration that has been pent up of losing the Pacquiao fight due to the eye and the stuff I'm sure he's been reading on Twitter about doubters like myself who say this guy isn't. I doubt this guy is the guy who is the Spence of 2017, the Spence of 2018. I'm sure he's been reading all that and he pent up all that anger and that energy and took it out on Ugas. He still is the big fish. He still is. What a performance by Spence. To me, this is his best performance to date. And I'm seeing and reading a lot of stuff on Twitter of Ugas through the fight, like stuff as crazy as that. Ugas through the fight. Why was Ugas just standing in front of him in a shell? Look, Spence took the fight to Ugas from the second round on. The first round was a study session, feeling each other out. You can give Ugas that round. I agree with the judges. The judges had 2 rounds for Spence. I think all 3 of them did, or 3 rounds for Ugas. I had the same. But from the second round on, Spence took the fight to Ugas with the exception of the 6th round. The 6th round was that knockdown, was the almost the near knockdown. And more on that in a minute. But first, I want to just talk about Spence. And this is his best performance to date. This, in my opinion, was arguably his best opponent to date, with the exception of maybe Porter. And Spence just took it to him. He decided, I'm fighting on the front foot tonight. I'm the stronger fighter. I'm digging into the body. I'm going back upstairs. They're making a point about my eye being damaged. I'm going to damage your eye. I'm taking out all my frustration from the past couple of years out on you. And after I do it, I'm calling out the guy with the belt that's left for me to finish this thing off. Undisputed at 147. And that's what Spence did tonight. Just a phenomenal performance. There's no way around it. It's just phenomenal performance by Spence. All of the question marks, all of the questions that we had about Spence coming in, he answered tonight against Ugas, against a very good fighter and a consistent fighter through this 13-fight run. A consistent fighter against Porter. He was a consistent fighter against Pacquiao. Just a consistent fighter for a 6-year span now. And he just ran into a better fighter. I said, leading up to the fight, I picked Ugas plus 400 with the betting odds. I felt he was undervalued there. He was not undervalued. They valued him correctly. And they valued him correctly because Vegas was high on Spence, and rightfully so. They got that right. They got that right. I got that wrong. I was focused more on the question marks. Vegas saw the same Spence leading into this fight that they had the Spence of 2018, 2019. And Vegas got that right. And like I said, Vegas has insiders. Vegas has people in these sparring sessions. Vegas has people in these training camps embedded. So I'm sure they were hearing, this guy looks good. This guy's having a good training camp. The eye's not a problem. And that's what showed tonight. There's no way around it, man. This was a great performance. There's no other way to put it. We all expect, 90% of the boxing public expected this to be a close fight. All of the people who were picking Spence were like, I'm picking Spence by decision, maybe late stoppage, but this is going to be a close fight. And it wasn't, with the exception of the 6th round. And we'll touch on that in a minute, but I just want to focus on what Spence did tonight, and it was a great performance. It was a big crowd, 30 to 40,000 in his hometown, and he put on a show. And he roughed Ugas up. Much of the focus is, why did Ugas go in the shell defense? Why did Ugas stand right in front of him? I think what happened was Ugas had the game plan coming in that we're going to match Spence's output. We're going to try to fight on the front foot, match Spence's output. But that there are certain game plans that work in theory. They work in training camps. They work against sparring partners who try to emulate what Errol Spence does. But when you get under the big lights and Errol Spence is Errol Spence, sometimes that game plan has to go out of the window. And it went out of the window quickly. And what Ugas did, his adjustment, and I think Showtime announcers were awful tonight, just awful. And they almost missed Spence getting hurt in the 6th round. I mean, it took Spence taking 3 shots before the Showtime announcers even talked about Spence being hurt. And Spence was hurt before the mouthpiece even came out. He's not telling the truth about that. Neither were the Showtime announcers in the highlight reel. There was a punch before the mouthpiece even came out. There was a punch before the highlight they were showing, if you go back and watch the fight. But they were saying Ugas wasn't making adjustments. Ugas did make an adjustment. The adjustment was, I see that I can't match this guy's output. He saw it early on. I can't match this guy's output. This guy is a beast. This guy is the Spence from 2018, 2019. So what I need to do is take his shots, take about 10 to 15 shots, let him let his hands go, and then I'm going to load up on right hands. And that's what Ugas did, and it worked for him in the 6th round. It worked for him in the 6th round. He said, I'm going to let Spence get his shots off, use his aerobic, anaerobic energy, and then I'm going to stay on my front foot in this shell and then load up on those right hands and try to catch him with the big right hand, because I know I can't match this output and I can't beat this guy in his hometown on the cards. I'm telling you, that's what happened. And he's loading up on those right hands, and he was landing with them. And he landed the perfect right hand in the 6th round. And this was the problem. Lawrence Cole. Lawrence Cole is always the problem. And Lawrence Cole always gets the call because of his dad in Texas, and it's always awful. The guy is atrocious. He is one of the worst referees in boxing, if not the worst. And he continues to get these calls, and he's awful. He was terrible again tonight. He was terrible. And he gave Spence a breather when Spence was hurt. I'm not saying Spence was going to be stopped there, because I looking back at it, I don't think he would have been stopped. But you don't stop the action when Ugas has Spence back against the ropes and he's walking forward. You don't stop the action and say, oh, okay, we gotta watch the mouthpiece, and then take him over to his corner. That was about a 20 to 30 second stoppage, and then Spence gets his legs back. That was Ugas's game plan from rounds 3 to round 6, is load up on his right hand, and he finally does it and has success. And then this is his moment. This is his moment to capitalize on. This is his opportunity to win the fight. This is his only opportunity to win the fight, is to load up on the right hand and catch it. He finally does, and then Lawrence Cole stops the action. It's awful. It's awful. Atrocious. What up, Cal? Spence looked phenomenal. Love the call out for the Crawford fight. And that's what I'm talking about as well, is you often see guys put on great performances and then they don't finish the job in the post-fight press conference. Errol Spence finished the job in the post-fight press conference tonight. Errol Spence puts on a great performance. Errol Spence did everything right tonight, except get caught with that right hand in the 6th round. He did everything right. And it was a fun fight in those middle rounds. Like rounds 1 through 4, you're like, oh, I think Spence is going to continue to put rounds in the bank and walk away with this thing. And then 5th round, Ugas has moments. In the 6th round, he has his big moments. And then the 7th round, there's some back and forth action. And then from like 8 to 10, it was all Spence again from there. But the middle rounds, it became a fun fight, which was expected because these guys were going to throw leather. And you knew Ugas wasn't the type of guy that was going to go out and just, even though he wasn't throwing a lot of punches, he was still putting out effort to win the fight. That was his only avenue of winning the fight. His avenue of winning the fight was not to use lateral movement and let Spence continue to fight on his front foot and walk him down. That wasn't an opportunity, an avenue for a victory. It was an avenue for a victory for Ugas to just let his hands go. His jab was taken away by Errol Spence. He didn't abandon it. It was taken away. His only avenue for victory was to load up on the right hand. And he tried. You got to give him that. He tried. But Spence, what it came down to, I said, if Spence wins this fight, or if Ugas loses his fight, it's simply going to be because Spence is the better fighter. And he was. And he was clearly the better fighter. And there are clearly two top dogs at 147. And 147 is a deep division. We saw half of the top 10 in action today. We saw a great fight between Stanionis and Buteyev. We saw Conor Benn in action. You got Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz there. And by the way, man, imagine Virgil Ortiz versus Stanionis. Whew, what a fight that would be. You had Ugas and Spence, and then Spence dispatches of Ugas, and there's two guys left with all the belts, with all the hardware where that matters. And that's why I talk about finishing the job in the post-fight press conference. It's not, oh, I gotta talk to my team. I gotta talk to Al Heyman, and we'll get together with Al Heyman and see where we go from here. No, that's not how you finish the job. You finish the job by saying, there's one guy left. Terrence has my belt. I'm coming to get that. You have my belt. I'm coming to get it. He said it a few times. Terrence has my belt. I'm coming to get it. It's strap season. That's how you finish the job. These people come to watch you. You put on a great performance. Spence looked like a killer tonight. Fought on his front foot all night. He looked strong. He looked fresh. He looked like prime Errol Spence. Best performance of his career. It looked like the nutritionist is doing a good job. It looked like the strength and conditioning coach doing a good job. Spence looked fresh. And he walked down Ugas all night. And he looked strong. And then he called out Terence Crawford. So now, we talked about for years now, 3-4 years, when is Spence and Crawford going to get it on? These two guys have been in the same room for years and have found out a way to avoid each other. And it's Spence that's been doing the avoiding. But it looks like that's not the case anymore. And I'll believe it when they get in the ring with each other. I don't want to get myself too excited, even though I am excited. But if these two guys get it on later this year, it's one of the 2-3 biggest fights in boxing, if not the biggest, and it's at the right time. I hate to say it, it's at the right time because all of the belts are on the line now. Perfect timing. It looks like both guys are either in their prime or close to it. And what a build up to this fight when you have Crawford with his biggest victory, his biggest single victory. I know he became undisputed at 140, but his single biggest victory is against Sean Porter, and he did it by stoppage. And I think it was around round 10. And then Errol Spence follows him up and has his biggest victory of his career against Ugas. And I think it was a 10th round stoppage tonight. So right around the same area. And both were against in packed houses, and especially with Spence, 35, 40,000 tonight. What a buildup. What a buildup. And that's right. Cole was garbage, as always. Yes, Lawrence Cole is the worst. Atrocious. Stop for the eye 2 times mid-fight. Do that before the round starts. Exactly. I hated the ring doctor being able to, them going to the ring doctor several times. Hated it. Too bad they can't fly Willis or Smoker in from New York. Smoker will never stop a fight. Ever. Sounds like Jamal Charlo does everything but call anyone out. I heard the Charlos were drinking it up again ringside tonight and getting into it with David Benavidez. So great stuff from Errol, but Ugas was awful in my opinion. Looked like a punching bag in later rounds. I just don't agree. I don't agree. I think Ugas fought the best fight and the best strategy available to him. Spence took everything else away from him. There was no way, dude. I don't care what anybody's saying. There's no way he was going to match Spence's output. And if he tried to, it was going to be bad. It was going to be ugly for him. And Spence took the jab away by smothering him. So the only strategy he had going forward against the much better fighter, because Spence is just a special fighter and Crawford is just a special fighter. They have separated themselves from the rest of the guys in that deep 147-pound division. We got names. We got Ugas. We got Virgil. We got Boots Ennis. We got Keith. We got Avanadjian. We got Butiev. We got Connor Ben. We got Cody Crowley. We got Stanionis. We got names on names on names at welterweight. But two guys have separated themselves from the rest of the pack, and you have to give these two guys credit. And you don't give Spence credit by taking away from Ugas. Ugas did not fight a terrible fight tonight, man. I don't care what anybody says. Like he tried to load up on the right hand, and that was the only pathway to victory available for him. It was just to load up on the right hand and try to catch Spence with something big. His only pathway to victory was to try to fight on the front foot, catch as many shots as possible, and then load up on one or two in between Spence's 15. That's it. That's all he had. That's all he had. I hate to break it to y'all. I know y'all want to make it out to where Ugas fought a terrible strategy and all this stuff. He didn't. He didn't. That's all he had, man. Spence is just a special fighter who fought a special fight. When Spence is in his prime and he puts on one of his best performances, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. I'm sorry. If your name is not Terrence Crawford, you're going to lose to Errol Spence if Spence is on his A game and he's in his prime. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. It didn't matter what Ugas did tonight. His only shot of winning this fight was the 6th round, where he loads up on the right hand and hurts Errol Spence. And he just couldn't get the job done. Lawrence Cole helped, but he couldn't get the job done. It's just, don't take away from Spence's victory and do this revisionist history that, Ugas just isn't that good of a fighter, or Ugas threw the fight. I see a lot of that stuff. Ugas didn't throw the fight. Come on. The judges were good. The judges, I gave Ugas 2 rounds. The judges gave Ugas 2 rounds as well. The judges were consistent with what the boxing public felt the scorecards were as well. The only person that was bad was Lawrence Cole. And Lawrence Cole favors the A-side fighters in Texas. So if you want to highlight any sort of foul work or cheating, it's Lawrence Cole. Bad performances. But other than that, man, everybody did what they were supposed to do in the main events. Spence brought his A game. And when Spence brought his A game, and when Spence's eye was not a problem, and when the Ferrari crash wasn't a problem, that threw the fight out of the window for Ugas. There was just no pathway to victory except trying to catch Spence with a big lucky shot. That was it. That was his only pathway. And that tells you how special Spence is, because Ugas is the 3rd best fighter right now in this deep weight class. He's number 3. Spence walked him down and walked through him. You just got to, I think a part of it too is you probably had people cheering for Ugas, or you had people who picked Ugas or bet on Ugas and just don't want to bring themselves to terms with the fact that they got it wrong. I said Ugas was undervalued at plus 400. He wasn't. He just wasn't. I threw down a little bit of money on him that I knew I could lose and not worry about, and I lost. It happens. It happens in boxing. You're not going to get them all right. The Jamal, who can get it, everyone, say their name. If he moves up to 154, I mean, he gives guys problems there too, Terrence Crawford. Like, Crawford and Spence. And then you got to talk about the pound for pound list too. Like, we've been talking about, since Spence has been mostly inactive, we've been talking about 4 guys at the top of the pound for pound list. It's been Canelo, it's been Usyk, it's been Inoue, it's been Crawford. Spence is right there. So now you have 2 of the top 5 guys. There's a clear top 5 now, and Spence is in it. So you have 2 of the top 5 guys and the 2 top guys in their weight class with all the straps for undisputed. It has to happen. It has to happen now. I don't want to get my hopes up. I love the call out. I love that Crawford's calling him out via Twitter. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it has to happen now. And this is the perfect timing for it. Perfect timing. Body shots paid off and paid dividends in round 6. Ugas shelled up. Yep, from rounds, Ugas did some decent work in 7 too, until like halfway through 7, and then Spence walked him down. Actually, it was about 2 minutes left in the round. Spence just started walking him down. And then from then on, from 7 to 10, it was mostly Spence again. He turned it on. He's like, no, this isn't going to happen. This is my night. This isn't going to happen. They're worried about my eye. I'm taking your eye from you. That's what happened. Great performance, man. There's no way around it. There's just no way around it. Great performance. Ugas just had to start trying to catch Spence on the way in. He let Spence inside for free every time, and he was getting battered when he got in there. Death by uppercuts. Yeah. Spence was just so quick to get in and so compact that the jab wasn't there. He neutralized the jab. And then if Ugas was going to try to throw the straight right, Spence was going to time that as well. So he just took all that away from him. And it became a phone booth fight. If Ugas was going to try to become a mover, that was going to work bad for him because it was going to be more energy coming forward for Spence. And Ugas was going to be fighting off his back foot. I just think that Ugas realized that this is the guy they've been talking about. Prime Errol Spence. It's not washed up Errol Spence with the bad eye with the Ferrari crash. This is prime Errol Spence again. We didn't know what Errol Spence was going to, none of us did. Ugas didn't. None of us did what Spence was going to come in tonight. And Spence emphatically answered that. So once Ugas sized him up and realized that, he had one option. That was load up on right hands. That was it, man. I didn't get to this. Yep, I got to that one. Ugas did what he could. This Spence would have lit back up. I was thinking about that after the fight, too. I'm glad you brought that up because had Spence not had the eye injury, I hate to have seen what Spence would have done to Pacquiao. Spence would have stopped Pacquiao. That Pacquiao that fought Ugas, Spence stops him. That would have got one-sided. That would have gotten really ugly. I ordered the fight. It was a great fight tonight. I had fun. And that's all I can ask for. I had fun. Ugas gave me a couple moments, and I got a great performance. The undercard was underwhelming because I was excited about the undercard on paper. I thought that Josecito was going to give Crowley more resistance. I thought Gamboa was going to have a couple moments early. That never happened. God, his corner must hate him because they must not own a white towel because that got ugly. And then you had Stanionis versus Boutia, but that was actually on the pre-card. And then you had Isak Cruz. That was the Gamboa fight. So it was sort of an underwhelming undercard, to be honest. But the main event I felt made up for it because we got a clear answer of who one of the best fighters in the sport is, and he put on a great performance. I gave Ugas 2 rounds. I did as well. And the official judges did as well. So the official judges ended up doing a good job. And they were all from outside of Texas. So you had one from New Jersey. I think you had one from California. So you had them from around the country and not in Texas, which is good. You see the advice from Ugas' corner didn't seem like they told them how to adjust, not taking anything from Spence. It was odd. I think they did make the adjustment. And I spoke about that earlier. I think they came in planning to match Spence's output, and they realized early on that wasn't going to happen. And there was no other alternative to victory except load up on that right hand. Just stand in the shell, stay on your front foot, load up on the right hand, and hope to land something big. And they did that in the 6th round. They just couldn't capitalize on it, couldn't finish the job. Lawrence Cole, the usual, didn't take the points off Maidana when he fought Broner. Yeah, Cole's awful. He's awful. I respect Jamel. Jamel is frustrating. Tyson almost punched on set because, yeah, they're always the Charlo brothers are always getting liquored up at fights and threatening to fight people. I guess it's a good thing. It's always fun to watch. I always thought Spence was a bad style matchup for Bud. Usually starts slow and comes on stronger later. I'll tell you one thing. If Bud lands that shot in the 6th round, that's all I'm going to say. If Bud lands that shot on the 6th round, Bud finishes jobs. It doesn't matter if Lawrence Cole's in there or not. Bud's going to finish the job. So if Bud gets Spence hurt, But that's the intrigue about it. It's like you watch Spence tonight, and he's just a big, um, physical welterweight who is going to dig. He's going to sit on his punches. He's got layers to his game. But then Crawford has all that too. And I think, and some. But those two guys are going to test each other because, like you said, Bud does give up rounds early. And Spence is going to get going and it's going to get fun. And then Crawford's going to take it to gear 5. And Spence is going to take Crawford to a place he's never been. And I think because of that, Crawford's going to go to a place he's never been. That's the fun part about it. I don't care where that fight's happening, when it's happening. I'm there. That's one I can't miss. Crawford switches and movement won't allow Spence to go to the body, and Spence looked hurt to the body, a lot. Crawford going to the body against Spence. Oh, yeah. Bud's going to go to the body. Spence starts fast and never lets off the gas, and he did start fast. That's the thing. Like you thought with the ring rust that because of the ring rust, Spence might start off slow. And he was slow. They were both studying each other in the first round. But after that, Spence just took off from round 2 on. The output was high, as you would expect from Prime's Bud, but we did from Prime's Spence, but we didn't know if we were getting Prime Spence tonight. We didn't know. So who you got, Spence or Crawford, based on the performance? Who would you go with? I've bounced back and forth over the years, but I'm going with Bud. I've been saying for a while, I think I just don't see anybody beating Bud. And I'm sticking with that. I just don't see anybody beating Bud, even with the performance tonight. And it looks like Spence is very aggressive, very ambitious, and wanting to fight Bud, but Bud the same. And Bud is a guy who feels slighted, a guy who feels like he hasn't had his moment like Spence has had his moments. And he had his moment against Porter, but not to the effect that he feels like he deserves. And I'm just telling you, Bud's a different beast. All respect to Ugas, but Bud ain't no Ugas. Ugas was stiff like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. I don't know. I think people are just being too hard on Ugas. And I think that's the boxing world, right? Like I see a lot of times people will give credit to the winner and then just bash the loser. Like I said, man, it's boxing. And when you fight the best fighters out there, you're going to lose. You know, unless you're one of those special fighters, if you're consistently fighting good competition, you're going to lose. And I don't want to see people just write Ugas off. This guy's put on a hell of a 6-year, 13-fight run. And he's got names on his resume. He just got beat by a special fighter tonight. I'm not coming on here and talking down on Ugas that he fought a terrible strategy and all this stuff, and he looked flat-footed. He knew he had, from about the round 3 on, he knew he had one pathway to victory. And he tried to exercise that, and it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. Those right hands were landing when he threw them, few and far between. But he just wasn't going to knock Spence out tonight. And that was his only pathway to victory, it turns out. Crawford might catch Spence late in the fight, but it may be too late. You never know, man. This Spence is deadly. I like Crawford, but he better start early or it's a long night. Look, when Crawford gets it going, Crawford gets it going. That's all I'm going to say. Whether it's round 3, round 4, Crawford gets it going. And Crawford's going to be looking to stop Spence. And if he doesn't stop Spence, we got ourselves a close fight on the scorecard because, like you said, Spence is going to win rounds off of activity alone, like he did tonight. Gamboa always falling all, like I said on Twitter, man, death, taxes, and Gamboa hitting the canvas. That's it. Like, that dude was on skates. He looked like a giraffe, like a baby giraffe. I mean, I don't know what you have to do. Like, this guy's, they list him at 40, but he's older than that. He's got the Little Richard perm. He's tubby. Now, I mean, it just looks bad. His legs aren't there, and his corner doesn't own a white towel. It's like, dude, throw the towel. I understand the guy is 10-3. I understand that stat when he goes down, but when he's going down 8 times, throw the towel. Throw the towel. He's not gonna knock out Isak Cruz. Throw the towel. He went down like 27 times. Throw the towel. The referee's not stopping it. Throw the towel. Come on, man, and get this guy to retire. Like somebody care about this guy. Paulie controversy in Texas. No judges from Texas. That's right. That's right. It wouldn't have mattered tonight anyway. But no Texas judges tonight. I may go back and stick with my original, which is Spence about minus 375 over Crawford. It changed closer to even, seeing the Crawford of late. Spence minus 375 over Crawford? Man. I don't favor anybody over Crawford, much less minus 375. And I think the Vegas odds are going to come in close to even on that fight. After tonight, maybe even Errol a slight favorite, but I don't favor me personally, I don't favor anybody over Crawford. Nobody. That guy is. Bud isn't going to just sit there with his gloves up. Ugas only knew how to come forward. That's right. The difference is special fighter against special fighter. And what we thought coming in was we had great fighter in Spence who may be good fighter if the Ferrari crash in the eye got to Spence. But in turn, what we had was special fighter in Spence against good fighter in Ugas. Good, reliable fighter in Ugas. Number 3 in the division, in the deep division, Ugas, but good fighter. Not great, not special. When you talk about special fighters, they have layers to their games. They can go to different tools in the toolbox when necessary. And Ugas just didn't have that. When Spence turned it on and Spence started to walk him down, he had one tool left, and that was the big right hand. That was it. That was the only tool left that he could exercise in order to win the fight. And when that happens to Crawford, when Spence starts to walk Crawford down like that, guess what? Crawford has a million tools to go to. Crawford could use lateral movement. Crawford could fight off the back foot. Crawford could counter as Spence starts to walk him down. Crawford will be able to utilize the jab. The jab is not going to be taken away from Crawford. Crawford is able to switch from conventional to southpaw. Crawford is able to turn out. All right. So you saw Spence using his angles, pivoting, constant pivot, constant working off the jab. Crawford can do the same thing. So when Spence is pivoting, Crawford's pivoting. And you're going to see a chess match. You're going to see high activity, and you're going to see violence. And that's what makes this the great matchup that everybody wants to see. Like I said, no disrespect to Ugas. I like Ugas, but he ain't no Bud. He ain't no Bud. Spence looked like the black G.I. Joe action figure back in the day, looking in tip-top shape, and he did. That guy looked great. If Crawford takes too long to figure out Spence, long night. Possible. It's possible, but I don't think it's going to take him too long to figure out Spence. They love to put Cole in the biggest fights always. And that's because his dad puts him in there is what happens. Ugas was more still than the statue outside the Cowboy was more still than the statue outside Cowboy Stadium. In no way Bud stands there he will throw angles, man. What a fight it will be. That's right. He's going to use his angles. He's going to use everything. And that's the beauty of it, is as great as Crawford is, we still haven't seen, I don't think, Crawford even go to 5th gear yet. That's what's scary. We saw Spence kick it in high gear tonight and just dispatch of Ugas, but I don't think we've seen Crawford truly go into 5th gear yet. And that's what's scary. And the fun thing about it is Spence is going to take him there. But usually, as sticking to first instincts go out, keep to Spence over Bud. That said, I'll be lovely seeing my underdog Bud roll through. Cole reminds me of that one ref from years ago in Germany. Don't remember the fight, but a Brit was involved. Cole was playing Hollywood script to the A side. Yeah, I think he definitely gave Spence a break there. There's no doubt about that. And that was the only, that's the only question mark about the fight, because other than that, Spence was the better fighter. But you wonder, had he let that go, had he not given Spence that 20 to 30-second break, what would have happened? I tend to think that Spence recovers and does fine, and the fight goes on pretty much how it would have from the 7th round on, but you never know. The sad part about it is knowing that if you know what you're looking at, you know that's what Ugas was banking on, landing that right hand, and he finally does, and Cole takes away his opportunity to try to capitalize on it. That was the frustrating part. Bud won't let Spence button rush him like that. He'll make him pay and get out of there. Oh yeah, there's no doubt he's not going to let Spence bum rush him like that consistently. There's no way. Spence will have his moments like that. There's no doubt, but Bud can dance and he can fight when it heats up. Yeah, Roger Tillman is like a worse than saying a lot. Let's see what else. Gamboa and Connor are awesome. When they get hurt, expect to sound like a prime. You know what? Like watching Gamboa get hurt and then just immediately get right back up. Calix, you anointed Ugas. He's good, but nothing special. I anointed him. This is when people hear what they want to hear. Like I said, I literally said a million times, Ugas is a good fighter, and we know what Ugas we're going to get coming into the fight. He's a good, reliable fighter. Never did I anoint Ugas. Never did I say Ugas was a special fighter. Never. You've never heard that come out of my mouth, but people hear what they want to hear. And when you get on here and you make previews and predictions, and then when you bet and you tell people, you pick on value and you only bet money you're willing to lose. And you can hit 9 in a row, but the 10th one, the one that you miss, people are going to jump on. Never did I say Ugas is a special fighter. Never did I anoint Ugas. I said Ugas is a live dog here. I think it's going to be a good fight. And 90% of the boxing public felt like this was going to be a close fight, if not more. Everybody was saying, I think Spence will win the fight, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close. People hear what they want to hear. Ugas is a good fighter, and Ugas was a good fighter coming in. Ugas is still a good fighter. He was just beat by a special fighter. Crawford can also fight going backwards. He has so many tools. That is right. Calix loves Crawford. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That's one guy that's special. And there's no doubt about that. Vegas won't go Spence a high minus 275, so close to the. I just don't agree with you. Like I don't know where this Spence being a healthy favorite against Crawford. Where is this coming from? Y'all really think Spence is going to be a healthy favorite against Crawford? I don't see that. Callie's trying to get that free Crawford t-shirt before the fight. I'll take it if he wants to throw it to me. Crawford jab is overrated. He was getting out jabbed and out countered by the short arm Brook. Yeah, I don't know what y'all are looking at. How could that Isaac Cruz have done against Ryan instead of Gamboa? That's the fight we want to see now. Ryan Garcia versus Isaac Cruz. And I'd rather see Ryan Garcia versus Tank, but we know it's not going to happen. We know Tank ain't taking that fight. Calix, who are the most fun fighters when hurt? I'll tell you what, Calix, you was the only person thought Ugas could win. No, I was not. I can name names, but I'm not going to throw people under the bus. I mean, I don't know what y'all look. I don't know. Ryan gonna get tagged chin up all damn day. And that's the fun thing about Isaac Cruz versus Ryan Garcia is, Ryan Garcia is going to try to land those big right hands. Ryan Garcia's chin is going to be up in the air. And Isaac Cruz is going to try to tag him. get to that chin, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun because Eastside Cruz just keeps coming forward, keeps coming forward, keeps coming forward. But it's hard to tell against the Gamboa because Gamboa's just got nothing left. So I don't want to anoint anybody again. So I'm not going to anoint Eastside Cruz after that fight. On paper, it was a terrific match and stakes were high, but once the bout began, Ugas couldn't keep up with Spence's volume and accuracy. Ugas was brave and had moments, but not enough of them. That is a clear and concise and good breakdown of the fight right there. And that's it. That's all you got to say right there. This is a great breakdown of what happened. Once Spence got going and once we saw that Spence is still Spence, that was it. That was it. You can talk about Ugas being stationary and it looks so weird, like Ugas was just standing still. It didn't. Once Spence was still Spence, that was it. Didn't matter what Ugas did. And Ugas had no options left. That was it. It was all lost. And I didn't anoint anybody. And I said, if Ugas loses this fight, it's because Spence is the better fighter and Spence is still a special fighter. And he is. He's still a special fighter. You got to give credit where it's due, man. Like, you got to give credit where it's due. There's no reason to revise history. There's no reason to walk back anything. I had questions about Spence coming in. I didn't think we'd see this Spence tonight, and we did. And we did. And that's it. That's it. The Ugas that came into the fight is still the Ugas after the fight. Ugas is still a good fighter. He went into a fight with a guy that we didn't know. He had question marks coming in. We didn't know if he was 2008 Spence, 18 Spence, or Ferrari crash, eye injury Spence. And it turns out he's 2018 Spence. He's scary. He is scary. Spence is scary. Crawford is great, but Spence is battle tested. Spence is battle tested. That is right. And Spence has more rounds, more experience in big fights. There's no question about that. Crawford Spence is 50-50, and that's what it's going to come out to, man, in the Vegas odds. I'm telling you. When these guys get in the ring and it's ding, 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 the Vegas odds are going to read 50-50. That's just the truth. No way Spence will be the favorite versus Crawford, right? Just based off pound for pound, seems like Vegas would have it even. It's going to be an even fight. There's no way minus 275, minus 150. It's going to be minus 105, minus 110, something like that. Either way, Ryan Garcia is a show horse. I backed Ugas plus 480, and I'm still happy with the call. We got a sniff in the 6. That's right. You look at value. There's no value in betting Errol Spence because the odds are too wide. You got to throw down, what was he, +6, +500, +600. So you got to throw down $500, $550 just to win. I think it was $600. You got to throw down $500 to $600 just to win $100 back. There's no value in betting that. So you can stay away. But if you think that this guy has a chance at landing something, if you think there's an opportunity that Spence could come in with a damaged eye, then you take that value with a little bit of money you're willing to lose. There's no. Look, man. People don't talk about Crawford's flaws enough. Dude is kind of chinny, and his defense is suspect when he switches. Crawford doesn't mind taking some shots to land. Like, that guy has a killer instinct, and Errol Spence the same, and you saw that. Spence doesn't mind taking some shots to land big shots himself, and they call that bad defense these days. That's the beautiful thing about Crawford and Spence is they're fun American fighters. They're fun American fighters. They do not mind getting bloody. They have killer instinct. They want to stop guys. They don't want to just coast to a decision. They want to get guys out of there. You saw that tonight with Spence. They want to get guys out of there. They have a killer instinct. They have a mean streak about them. Love both guys. But I'm riding with Bud. But all these frauds that people see, and if you want to see flaws in Bud, I don't. And he's chinny. I don't know where people are basing. I've never seen Bud hurt to say he's chinny. Esau Cruz is a 2020 Bam Bam Rios. Yeah, it's a good call. That's a good call. Little Manny at 40 busted Ugas up too. So I figured Spence. When did Manny bust Ugas up though? I didn't see that. Spence will be a favorite because of his size and a better resume at 147. I mean, maybe a slight favorite, possibly. I mean, at least Isak moves his head. Rios is a lighter weight Margarito. Ugas is lanky, but he fights at close range. Yeah. Spence and Crawford now stand at history's doorstep. And we are waiting to see which man will step through that door. Like tonight, it'll be Spence's output versus Crawford's IQ and efficiency. Another great way to put it. And I can't put it better than that. And also, it's killer instinct against killer instinct. When those two guys taste blood, when they smell that blood in the water, there's a reason Spence calls himself the big fish, a shark, and there's two guys left in that shark tank. There's two sharks left in that shark tank, and it's time for them to battle it out. Like like you have a bunch of sharks swimming around in this welterweight shark tank, but now we've isolated the two that we put in the big shark tank that they have to fight each other now. The other sharks in the welterweight division are swimming in another shark tank now. Like it's the two guys. These are the two guys. Spence has answered all the questions. He answered them tonight. And I said it coming in, Ugas is going to answer these questions for us when it comes to Spence. He's a perfect guy to do it because he's been reliable for 6 years. And he answered it tonight. When he got a taste of Spence's power and killer instinct and output, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. And that tells us everything we need to know about Spence right now. He's still in his prime. He's still in his prime. Let's see, what was that? Crawford biggest win on paper is Gamboa because of Gamboa high pound for pound ranking. Crawford's biggest win is Sean Porter. That's his biggest win. Now, that was a great win at the time, but Gamboa was moving up 2 weight classes at the time. He was moving up from 130. Was he moving up from? And he was at 126, so he was giving up a lot of weight against Bud in that fight. I wonder if Crawford Spence might actually be a boring fight. I just don't see how it can. I don't see a scenario. I don't envision a scenario in how that could be a boring fight. Unless one of them just dominates the other, but I just don't see much separation between the two of them. I think there's a little separation from Bud, but I don't know, man. Like Little Gamboa made a prime Crawford do the stanky leg dance at 135, so Spence versus Crawford is a 50-50 fight. He did hurt him a little bit early. I do remember that. That can't fumble this one. Let's see. They're slick fighters. If they were white, they'd be deceptively athletic. I could tell you've been watching my channel for a while. Crawford gets the KO. If he catches Spence with a shot in the 6th round like that, a flush shot, I don't care if it's Lawrence, even a Lawrence Cole ain't saving Spence. I'm telling you, Crawford has that killer instinct. Cheney, he's never been hurt. He's never been hurt. He was buzzed a little bit early in the fight against Gamboa, like a little bit. Don't fumble this fight. I don't know what that means. I know what you mean. Crawford versus Spence. Yeah, you can't fumble that fight. You can't. All the demand is there now. All the demand is there now. Both fighters want it. They're on record saying they want it. Don't fumble the fight. You are exactly right. Do not fumble the fight. Manny busted Ugas up bad. You must not have seen Ugas' face after the fight. Like, busted him up bad, though? Crawford showed he might be chinny against Gamboa. Mean Machine dropped him. He's been hurt in a few fights. Hurt's a strong word, though. Buzzed a little, maybe, but We'll see, man. We'll see. If Spence beats Crawford, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong. But I just think Bud's going to win the fight. Spence finally put a name on this fight. It has to happen for Undisputed. And at that, no other fight to make. Don't let us down. Boxing. Yep. Let's see. Spence will have a decent size advantage over Bud. That would be my biggest concern for Bud. At the same size, I'd back Bud all day. Calix, is Keith Thurman still a legit threat? No. No, 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 no. I said it earlier. I think Stanionis would send Keith to hell. I think Stanionis would beat Keith. I think there's a long list of guys who would beat Keith. Spence beats Keith easy. Crawford beats Spence. Crawford beats him easy. I'm talking about right now, like Crawford, the list of guys. Ortiz, Ennis, Ugas still. I think Butiev would beat him. And Butiev lost to Stanionis today. Conor Benn beats him. I think all these guys beat him. Cody Crowley would be a good fight with Keith Thurman. I just think Keith Thurman is the perfect gatekeeper opponent right now to get your guy up and coming, a name on his resume. Like Keith to me looks like food at 147. Keith right now is food at 147. He's fish food for these sharks. Like to me, Keith is a guy who is fringe top 10, maybe. Like he just beat Matteo Barrios by decision, and Tank stopped him. So what do we do with that after a long layoff and after coming off of a loss to Pacquiao? And this guy's still top 10 in this deep division? Like really? Back when Hailstorm Sports was doing lives with you, that's right, my boy Hailstorm that I still talk to. He's covering NBA now. Bud is going to, and he's covering NBA well. Like they're doing it big over there. Bud is going to catch Spence with right hook to counter like he did Brooke. Spence is a sucker for right hands. He showed that tonight. Once the fight is signed, both men will work themselves into prime condition, physically, mentally, strategically. They know the result will determine how will they be. It's a legacy fight. If ever there was a legacy fight, that's a legacy fight. These two guys are peers. These two guys, their trajectory has been the same. They're both in their prime now. They're both in the same weight class. They're both top 5 pound for pound guys. And two of the most talented fighters in the sport. It's time to figure it out. And this is a legacy fight. Both fighters need that fight. They both need it. They both need it. And that's the great thing about that is one guy is going to lose that and just be completely dejected after the fight. It's for everything. Legacy. You have to have separation with your peers in your generation. And that shows who should be higher in all-time pound-for-pound rankings. You have to separate yourself from your peers. And there's been no separation really between the two when it comes to public opinion on who would win the fight, 50-50 fight. One of those guys has to separate themselves from each other. And the only way to do that is to fight each other. Most fighters get hit solid shots. It's going to happen. These guys aren't Pernell and Floyd. Exactly. Like guys are going to get hit. Guys are going to lose fights if they're fighting great competition like Ugas. Ugas is a good fighter. He just lost to a better fighter tonight. It's it, man. There's no reason to call it anything other than that. He just lost to a better fighter. He lost to a special fighter. There's no shame in that. He fought him. He got himself all the way to a unification fight with 3 belts on the line in a deep division. Props to him. Mean Machine dropped Bud. Understandable. Crawford and Spence would send Thurman's hairline further back. Keith the gatekeeper Thurman. That's right. Ennis versus Ben would be an interesting fight. Or Ben versus Virgil Ortiz. I'm going to be talking a lot about Conor Benn. Because I'm excited about him, but it's time to step it up, and I hope they don't do it against Amir Khan. I'd love to see Conor Benn in a step-up fight in America against none other than Adrian Broner. That would be fun. But Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz, I'm telling you, that's one of the best fights to make in the division. Mikey Garcia going to take over. You got Keith all the way effed up. I don't, man. Like Keith to me is washed. He's done. Like he's donezo. He's donezo. Matteo Batio's by decision, dude, and that's after a long layoff. No, like Keith is done. He's food for these guys. I'm telling you. Too early, but about Conor Benn beating Thurman, his resume is got it. Got it. But I'm telling you, Conor Benn would beat Keith Thurman. He would. Spence versus Bud next in November 2022. Undisputed. I hope you are right. I hope you are right. Where do you think they will take place in Dallas? I mean, one's from Nebraska, one's from Dallas, so that would be a good spot for it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Vegas. It seems to be where all the big fights go now. 2 top 10 pound for pound boxers. Who gives a F who wins? Just give me the fight. Exactly. Ben should fight Avanesian. I wouldn't mind that either. Legacy fights happening when it's white hot fire. Boxing cannot fumble this fight. With all the fights we haven't seen, we can have the consolation prize to make up for the fights we didn't see. Yep. Give us the big fight. It's time. This was a consolation prize tonight because we all wanted Spence versus Crawford tonight, and they gave us Spence versus Ugas. But like I said, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. We got what we needed tonight. They consolidated 3 belts. Now we're getting this fight at the perfect time, or we should be, for all the marbles now. They're going to have the fight in Dallas with Cole as referee. God, I hope not. I like that fight. Thurman versus Broner. Book it. I don't know. Thurman should win that fight. I'd take Thurman over Broner, that's for sure. Keith only losses to the GOAT. Too bad a Vegas fight can't be staged at a college football stadium so that more of the real boxing fans can see it live. I agree. And that's one thing Canelo gets right is he'll do them in big stadiums as well. Errol Spence did that tonight too. So all that being said, man, I am out for the night. More on this tomorrow. God bless everybody. Errol Spence with a great performance. And now hopefully we get Crawford versus